Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to this lesson. In this lesson, I'm going to teach you about modal verbs: may, might, and to be allowed to. I have already uploaded a video on the modal verbs can, could, and to be able to. So feel free to check that video for that lesson. Now, remember, modal verbs are also called auxiliary verbs. But before we begin this lesson, first of all, I would like to welcome all the new subscribers. Welcome to this family. And for those who haven't subscribed, please do so. And give this video a thumbs up if you find it useful. Thank you very much. Now, let us begin. To be able to use modal verbs correctly, or any form of grammar, it is very important that you understand the rules. When you understand the rules, then you feel very confident while you are using any type of grammar. So, there are some rules that you have to follow whether you are using modal verbs in writing or for a test or in your day-to-day life. Now, let us look at the rules. Rule number 1. Use may to indicate that something is allowed. When you want to explain to somebody that something is allowed, it is not forbidden, then use may. Look at example 1a. You may come in. It means that you're allowed to come in. You may come in. Next example. They may use their calculators for this test. So you're doing a test, maybe a math test, and somebody says, maybe the teacher who is supervising the test says, they may use their calculators for this test. So you are allowed to use your calculator for that particular math test. Look at the next example. You may use my phone. So it means that I'm allowing you to use my phone. You're allowed to use my phone. So all these 3 examples use may to suggest or to show that somebody is allowed to do something. You may come in. They may use their calculators for this test. You may use my phone. Rule number 1b. Use may to indicate that something is possible. Look at the examples on the right. Example 1b. You may be wrong about that. You may be wrong about that. Which means that there is a chance that you are wrong. Maybe somebody says something and you're not very sure whether it's correct or not. So you can say, you may be wrong about that. may. It is possible. It is possible that you're wrong. It is also possible that you're right. So you're not sure. Look at the next example. You may have pressed the wrong button. You may have pressed the wrong button. Let's say, for example, you're watching television and suddenly the television goes off. Then you ask your dad, "Dad, what's wrong with the television? It's not working anymore. It has just gone blank." Then your dad may say, "You may have pressed the wrong button. You may have pressed the wrong button on the remote control." So it is possible, there is a chance that the television screen has gone completely blank because you have pressed the wrong button. So use may to suggest that, or when you want to let somebody know that something is allowed. And secondly, use may to indicate or to show that something is possible. There is a chance that it is possible. Now, before I move on to rule number 2, I have a tip for you, a very important tip for you. In spoken language, that is when we are speaking, we always use can to indicate that something is allowed. When you're speaking to somebody and you want them to know that something is allowed, we tend to use can more often than may. Look at the example on the right. Of course you can use my phone. Of course you can use my phone. It is also correct to say, of course you may use my phone. Both sentences mean that you're allowed to use my phone. But usually in spoken language, that is when we are speaking, we tend to use can instead of may to indicate that something is allowed. Okay? Let us move on to rule number 2. Use to be allowed to indicate if something is permitted or not. So if you want to let someone know whether they can do something or whether they are not allowed to do it, then use to be allowed to. Look at examples 2 on the right. He is allowed to drive my car. He is allowed to drive my car. So, in other words, he has been permitted to drive that car. He is allowed to drive my car. The next example, she was not allowed to go to the party. She was not allowed to go to the party. Now that sentence shows that he has not been allowed to do it. So he has not been given the permission to do it. So sentence 1, he is allowed to drive my car. If he had not been given the permission to do that, then we can say he is not allowed to drive my car. She was not allowed to go to the party. If she was allowed to go to the party, then we would say she is allowed to go to the party. Or she was allowed to go to the party. So when you want to show that someone is not allowed to do something, they don't have the permission to do it, you simply add not before allowed. He is allowed to drive my car. he is not allowed to drive my car. Okay? Now, rule number 3. Use might to show uncertainty. What does uncertainty mean? It means when you're not sure. Use might to show uncertainty. That is when you're not sure. Look at the examples on the right. Example 3. I might call you later. I might call you later. Which means that maybe I will, maybe I will not call you. I'm not sure. I might call you later. The next example, he might be wrong. I'm not sure. Maybe he is right, maybe he is wrong. So, he might be wrong. Look at example, rule number 4. The next rule, rule number 4. Combine may plus have plus the third form of the verb to suggest or to indicate that something, perhaps something has taken place, or when you're not sure. So use may plus have plus the third form of the verb to suggest that perhaps something has taken place. So when you want to show, or when you want to say, or when you want the other person to know that maybe something has taken place, or maybe it has not taken place, when you're not sure, use the combination of may plus have plus the third form of the verb to suggest that perhaps something has taken place. You're not sure. In that sentence, remove the first something. It should be to suggest that perhaps something has taken place. I apologize for that error when I was writing. It should be to suggest that perhaps something has taken place. So maybe it has taken place, maybe it has happened, maybe it hasn't happened. I'm not sure. So look at the examples on the right. That is example 4 of how to do that. I may have seen him. I may have seen him. So then you have may plus have plus the third form of the verb, seen. I may have seen him. So maybe I saw him, maybe I didn't see him. I'm not sure. I may have seen him. Okay? The next example, we may have missed the train. Maybe we have missed the train, maybe not. So once more, you have may plus have plus the third form of the verb. Now, maybe you're wondering, what is the third form of the verb? Look at the last tip. The last tip at the bottom of the board. Right at the bottom, the one in blue. It says, the third form of the verb means the past perfect tense. I have uploaded a video about the past perfect tense, just in case you're not familiar with that and you need more details. But for the purpose of this lesson, the third form of the verb means the past perfect tense. And on the right, I have written some examples of some sentences in the past perfect tense. It has rained. They have eaten. We have slept. So you can see the verbs at the end rained, eaten, slept. They are verbs in the third form, and that is because we combine them with has or have. Okay? Now, let us go back to our rules. Rule number 5. Combine might plus have plus the third form of the verb to suggest that something could have happened. To suggest. I forgot the word suggest. It should be between to and something. Combine might plus have plus third form of the verb to suggest something could have happened, but luckily it did not happen. So when you want to say that something could have happened, but luckily it did not happen, then use the combination of might plus have plus the third form of the verb. Now, how do you do that? Look at the examples on the right. Examples 5. You might have broken your neck. You might have broken your neck. Now, this means that you did not break your neck, but it could have happened. So you're very, very lucky that your neck is not broken. Okay? You might have broken your neck. You're very lucky because you might have broken your neck. The next example, the dog might have bitten you. You're lucky. The dog did not bite you, but the dog might have bitten you. And the last sentence, the knife might have cut your finger. You're very lucky because the knife might have cut your finger. So in all those 3 examples, you have might plus have plus broken. Might plus have plus bitten. Might, okay, plus have plus cut. Okay, and all those verbs, broken, beaten, and cut, are in the third form of the verb. Have broken, have beaten, have cut. That is the past perfect tense. And once more, if you're not familiar with the past perfect tense, you're not very confident about it, have a look. I have uploaded a video on the past perfect tense. Now, this brings me to the end of this lesson. I hope that you are now able to use may, might, and to be allowed to correctly, either in writing or maybe for a test or in your day-to-day life when you're speaking English. You now know when you are supposed to use may, might, and to be allowed to, and also you know how to use it. Okay? Remember, use may to indicate that something is allowed or that something is possible. Okay? Remember to use to be allowed to indicate if something is permitted or not, if something is allowed or not. Use might when you're not sure. Combine may plus have plus the third form of the verb to suggest that maybe something has taken place, maybe it did not happen. And finally, combine might plus have plus the third form of the verb when you want to suggest that something could have happened, but luckily it did not happen. Okay? Now, as we come to the end of this lesson, I would like to ask you to do me a favor. If you found the lesson useful and informative, just press that subscribe button and share this video with your friends, with your family, and anybody else who may need it. Okay? Sharing is caring. Thank you very much for that, and see you in my next lesson. Bye bye, and take really good care of yourself.